John mentions a set of 7 stars several times in his Apocalypse. The stars are held in the right hand of the one like unto the Son of Man. The stars represent the angels of the 7 churches, which, in turn, are represented by the 7 candlesticks, already identified as the 7 plasma jets emitted by the planet Venus in its cometary phase. Like the 7 spirits, the 7 stars are a symbolic interpretation of the 7 Venusian plasma streams. John the Revelator does not make this equation explicit, but the circumstantial evidence clearly supports this identification. In addition to the fact that both spirits and stars number 7, John associates the two closely throughout his book. At one point in his narrative, John describes a star in the same way as he described the 7 spirits, as a burning lamp. The association between the 7 spirits and the 7 stars is more explicit outside the scriptural canon. In Taoism, there is a 7-star lamp, which represents the 7 stars of the Northern Dipper. It is shaped like a tree, and 7 cups of oil are mounted on the branches. It has the same essential design as the Jewish menorah, which was patterned after the 7 plasma jets of Venus. Like the lamps of the 7 spirits, these 7-star lamps are eternal flames, never to be extinguished. Buddhism's 7-star lotus lamps follow the same principle, with each candle and its flame representing a star, where John's candles represented spirits. The most important point of agreement between the 7 stars and the 7 spirits is that both symbolize angelic or heavenly beings. The 7 spirits represent the 7 archangels, and the 7 stars represent the angels of the 7 churches. Groupings of 7 stars or 7-star constellations are ubiquitous in the lore of nations, many of them equating the 7 stars with heavenly beings of one type or another. The Pleiades is a good example. The Pleiades is a star cluster located in the constellation of Taurus. As this photo demonstrates, there are more than 7 stars in the cluster. Yet, the power of the enduring mythic archetype of 7 stars requires that there be only 7. The name Pleiades designates 7 divine daughters of the Titan Atlas. According to the Greek myth, the sisters committed suicide. Zeus immortalized the sisters by placing them in the sky. This second depiction of the 7 sisters retains the original archetype, the 7 sisters encircling what appears to be a red planet. In ancient Egypt, there were 7 goddesses, the 7 Hathors, often represented by 7 cows, who are now the Pleiades shining in the sky. Hathor, of course, is identified as the planet Venus. Even more telling is the fact that in Hindu mythology, the Pleiades are the wives of the 7 sages, the Saptarishi. As we have demonstrated earlier, the Saptarishi are a reflection of the 7 plasma jets of ancient Venus. The transformation of a human into a star, known as catasterism, is quite common throughout the mythologies and legends of the ancient world. The metamorphosis of the 7 Greek sisters into stars is a prime example. Another example is that of Julius Caesar. Ovid relates the story in his Metamorphoses. It is likely not a coincidence that, according to Ovid, it is Venus that carries Caesar's body to the heavens. Not only was Caesar now a star, he became a comet with a tail. Star and comet are combined in one symbolic image. The mythic archetype of catasterism continues to modern times in the form of apotheosis, where mortals are elevated to divine status amongst the stars and planets. The apotheosis of George Washington in the U.S. Capitol follows the archetype with Washington and 15 angelic beings encircling a central sun-like orb. Though the number is not consistent, the arrangement is the same as that of the 24 elders and the 7 spirits surrounding the throne. The book of Job records an instance where stars represent angelic beings. It is clear from the context that the morning stars refer to angels who sing while the sons of God, also angelic beings, shout for joy. The morning stars are singing at the creation of the world as the Lord lays the foundations of the earth and the cornerstone. These stars are premortal spirits in addition to being angelic beings. In a broader sense, stars become the spirits or souls of men. It is a long-standing mythic archetype that every human soul is assigned a star and that stars are the emblems of a soul. William Wordsworth's Ode on Intimations of Immortality is a classic example of this archetype. Plato, in his dialogue with Timaeus, made this principle explicit and axiomatic. According to Plato, the creator of the universe made the souls of man and the stars of the universe equal in number, and assigned every soul to a star. From a modern perspective, it is not intuitive that plasma streamers would look like or be interpreted as stars. They do have the appearance of a burning candle or at times a flaming torch. Stars, on the other hand, have a more rayed appearance. While we do not know the precise answer, we can offer 2 plausible explanations. Anciently, Venus was the star par excellence. The cometary Venus was considered the great star and became the prototype of all stars and comets. To this day, we draw stars in the image of the original star, the planet Venus. One explanation posits that each of the 7 jets extending from the Mother Goddess would represent the great star itself. The part would represent the whole. This principle is quite common in human culture and is called a synecdoche. For example, the word hand is often used to represent the total body or man himself. On ships, the command is all hands on deck and not all crew members on deck. We call cowboys ranch hands and hired laborers hired hands. In Scripture, synecdoche is quite common. One example is Paul's statement used in the previous episode on this topic. Paul equates parts of the body, flesh and blood, with the whole of the body, meaning human beings. Following this principle, each of the plasma streamers became a star itself, with there being 7 stars since there were 7 jets or spirits. There is another explanation that has a physical basis. We know that plasma filaments or jets can bifurcate or branch at the end. Lightning is a good example of this phenomenon. Cometary tails can do the same. Sometimes the branching is more toward the end of the tail and becomes more star-like in its appearance. The tail end of the great comet at the death of King Harold, portrayed in the Bayeux Tapestry, looks like a rayed star. A more vivid example is this plasma globe. Each of the plasma filaments bursts at its end, whether or not it reaches to the globe. In essence, there is a starburst at the end of the filament. Whatever the case, ancient man, including John in his Revelation, did interpret the 7 plasma streamers of Venus as individual stars.